Hello and welcome to the Sun Racing preview in association with Betway. I'm joined by Steve Mullen, aka Templegate. Good to see you, Steve.
Yeah, good to be here, Jack.
It's the international meeting at Cheltenham this weekend, but there's also a decent meeting up at Doncaster, so we're going to have a quick look at a couple of the feature races up there. We'll start off with the December Novices Chase, the Grade 2. Fields headed by Sam Spinner. Have you got any thoughts on this, Steve?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing Sam Spinner, but particularly Windsor Avenue. I mean, the great hope of the North this season. So far, so good. I mean, his run at Carlisle last time was fantastic. I really liked the way he jumped. Brian Ellison, he's no mug. He's been talking in glowing terms about this horse. I think stepping up in distance, stepping up in class. I think two big ticks, and I think Sam Spinner, the way he jumped at Weatherby would be a bit of a worry for me. He's obviously got an awful lot of class, but he almost stopped a little bit at every fence there. I thought he jumped to the right a bit.
Very careful, wasn't he?
Yeah, which is no bad thing. And you know, he's only had a couple of goes over fences, and to be honest, he's done better than I thought he would do. But I just think the way Windsor Avenue's been going, Sam Spinner will have to improve, which he can do. It's only his third run, I think, over fences and away from Weatherby as well. I think that does take a little bit of jumping, and we'll see how they get on.
I think this galloping track's going to suit Windsor Avenue as well, because he's a relentless galloper, isn't he?
Yeah, he just travels like a proper chaser, and you just think there's more to come from him. And coming from a yard, it's not a small yard. He's had a lot of success, but he's not willing to. I don't think he's the type to, like, if you like, waste a race thinking I will be better next time. I think a Grade 2 to Brian Ellison's a big pot.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't think there'll be any messing about.
Yeah, Sam Spinner, I'm not really sure what to make of him. I mean, myself and a colleague went up to Jed's yard a couple of weeks ago. We spoke to him, and he was really happy with what he's done so far. He says he's been careful by design, and kind of when he's been asked to come up, he has come up. But I mean, for me, he's just been. I don't know, he's just been a bit careful, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you go up in classes when there's test of jumping, isn't it? You have to jump a bit quicker. I mean, we know his quality. I mean, his stay and hurdle form is a lot of it's excellent. And he's obviously a good horse. Yeah. And we'll see. We can say it wouldn't be a surprise if he won, but I think Windsor Avenue we'd be disappointed if Windsor Avenue isn't able to continue his progression and maybe just win it on jumping, where the Sam Spinner, the trip will help a bit, and you know, his tactical speed, which he still has, even though he jumped a bit slow, might help. But
I mean, I'm a big fan of Sam Spinner. I'm just hoping, in a better race now, hopefully they go a stride quicker. I think that'll help him. I think in a better race with a stronger pace, he'll probably jump better.
It could. Well, I mean, he won't be able to jump slowly, will he?
No.
The slightly going right-hander thing was a bit of a surprise, because he's obviously got good form on left-handed tracks. So I mean, it wasn't marked, but it was a bit strange. But maybe it's just something he's learning at his jumping game.
Yeah. What about a couple of the others? Diablo de Ruhu, Nicky Henderson's horse. We'll call it Nicky's horse.
Yeah. It was over hurdles last time, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, perfect.
But
far, I think.
Any horse that's won over fences at Uttoxeter has got guts, because even on good to firm ground, if they ever get it there, it takes some doing. And again, staying, but up in class, so has to find more. Could do it, obviously, comes from a top yard. I'd put him third out of those three.
Yeah, I think he's improved this year, but I mean, he's showed a bit of versatility over fences and hurdles, so he's got a decent engine.
And obviously the fitness won't be an issue, and again, coming from chasing to hurdling and back again, it can just keep them honest, as it were. So we'll see. But again, I think it would be slightly disappointing if the other two turn up and he wins.
Yeah. Quick word on Imperial Aura. I mean, he looks like a nice prospect, but it was a complete non-event that he won at Fakenham.
Yeah, he
25s on. I think he
finished alone, didn't he?
He was the only horse to finish. Yeah.
What I would say is Kim Bailey's having a bit of a resurgence, isn't he, on the quiet, and he thinks a lot of this horse. So he's another one who, we'll have him ready, and there's more to come. I think he's a very good long-term prospect, whether today's the day, and this trip probably maybe needs further again.
Yeah. In those Imperial Commando.
Well, exactly. It's all anything with Imperial, and it's also great for headlines and things. Like horses like that. Name your horses like that.
Yeah. So selection-wise, Windsor Avenue for you then?
Yeah, I mean, if he turns up, he's nudging at being the bet of the weekend for me. I really do think he's a good horse. What price he'll be, obviously, is open to debate. But if Sam Spinner's there again, he can't be too short. I'd be disappointed if he doesn't win.
All right, cool. I will probably just side with Sam Spinner, but he will need to brush up on his jumping, I think, to beat Windsor Avenue, because he, like you say, he looks like a really smart horse. So it's going to be an interesting race there up at Donny. The second race we're going to look at Doncaster is the Bet365 Handicap Chase. It's a very competitive looking race on paper. Steve, what are your thoughts on this? It's 25 grand up for grabs, and it looks a tricky old betting heat.
It does, yeah. Well, it depends on what the weather's going to be like in Yorkshire. It could turn into a bit of a slog, this, because Doncaster does get very soft.
Yeah.
Does take some jumping. With that in mind, horses like Cloth Cap, which stays, was placed in the Scottish National, and would like soft ground, I think, to draw out the stamina elements.
Definitely.
Ran well at Ascot despite a couple of iffy jumps. Not a great price, I have to say, looking at the early prices. But I think he's got his season mapped out, which I think will end up in the Scottish National.
again,
But I think this is a good kind of prep for that.
Yeah.
Chef to keep as well. I mean, a lot of people are put off by his owner jockey, David Maxwell.
He's doing all right,
I'll be honest, I don't see anything wrong with him. I mean, he's not the most stylish, but
They run for him.
I've never watched a race of his thinking, and another jockey would have won on that, to be quite honest. And I think Chef to keep is another one who looks like a test of stamina would suit, and ran well at Newbury, I think it was last time. And I think he'll run all right. I think he's got a couple of other entries which he may take up, but I think if he turns up in this, I think he'd have a good chance.
Yeah, I mean, I echo what you say about Cloth Cap. Soft ground will really suit him if they get it here. I think he's off the same mark as actually when he was third at Ascot. He's been unchanged there, so he's got an obvious chance. I quite like Nikki Richards' horse, My Old Gold. She was a listed winner at Perth in the spring. She beat Treacle Tart, who's also ended up here. So, I mean, if they line up again, she should have a measure. I think she's only £1 worse off with that.
Behind Lost in Translation,
and she
needed the run, definitely.
Had the pipe opener behind her, Lost in Translation at Carlisle. Obviously, this is a dropping grade back into a handicap company. I don't think she'd want the ground to deteriorate too much, because, I mean, some of her best forms come in the spring on a more sound surface. So if they get a lot of rain, that could be a worry. But I know the trainer likes her. She's a smart mare. I think she'll have a solid chance as I say, as long as the ground's not too bad. Dandy Dan's another one we should mention. He's up there in the betting. He's got a good chance. Second to a very strong stayer, Mystery at Kelso last time. It was obviously on an Ida and
stays forever. That
stays
one,
for
5 mile horse.
Doesn't he? So yeah, it's a tricky looking race on paper, but I think I would side with My Old Gold, provided the ground's not too bad. And if I can push you for
I think Chef to Keep, I think, has got a good sporting chance. The Dubai Way was another one I considered as well. But £7 rise in the weight, I think, might just be a bit too much. So Chef to Keep, I think Cloth Cap will run well as well.
Cool. I just want a quick mention as well for Ami Debois, who's in here, because I used to have a soft spot for this horse. He's kind of lost his way. He's slipped to a decent mark, and I think he likes to go forward. So if he runs and he gets a soft enough lead, he could go well at an each way price. But I think my pick would be My Old Gold, and Steve is going for Chef to Keep.
Yeah,
lovely. The first of our big races we're going to look at Cheltenham is the International Hurdle. The field's headed by Penton Hills. We've got Chittabello in here, Call Me Lord, Elixir de Nuts. Some good entries in there. And Steve, what are you thinking about this? I mean, it's a race of a good history, but it's perhaps not the strongest renewal.
No, this is a bit slightly disappointing, I suppose, in terms of the older hurdlers. And also, there's big question marks about some of the market leaders, not because they're not good horses, but because they're coming back from long breaks, and it's always interesting to see how they go from their 4-year-old season. I mean, Penton Hills, you can't crab what he's done. I mean, a very good Triumph Hurdle, and then he followed up at Aintree. Can't do much more than that at his age. No. It's not easy to bridge the gap, but it can be done, and he does look very classy. Whether he needs this first run, time will tell. Similar comments apply about Elixir de Nuts. I mean, was very fancied for the Supreme novices, and it pulled out on the day, I think, or no, very close to the day.
Yeah, close to the day. Very impressive in that Tolworth.
Yeah, exactly. That Tolworth hurdle was good, and he won the trial for this race, I think, or he won a trial for the Supreme, was it? He won a decent race here anyway last season. You would expect him to need the run. So that's the kind of classy end. But like you said, Chittabello won the county hurdle. The breathing operation seems to have made him into a new horse. And you've got the Greatwood hurdle form. Sorry, I'm mentioning all the horses on your ear, but Gumball and Michelle Lecoq. I mean, the Greatwood hurdle has worked out well in this before, and it easily could again. Yeah,
I mean, we have to say at this stage, we're not 100% sure who's going to line up. But like you say, Penton Hills, I'm always a bit wary of these 4-year-olds, kind of, as they start the following season against the older horses. They don't always, they don't always train on and kind of graduate to that level. I mean, obviously he was very impressive in the Triumph, but we can't forget poor old Sir Eric broke down in that race. So
of course.
not 100% sure how strong.
Following
the
up at
race
Aintree was almost more
But
of a positive.
It was
really.
it was the Aintree one which actually
Yeah.
thought, well, okay, maybe it wasn't a fluke,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
actually he's got a massive engine, this horse. So, but again, I'm always a bit wary about taking a short price about a 4-year-old. If you look at that Fusili Raffles,
Yeah.
he made to work hard for that win at Wincanton on his comeback, wasn't he? He was a
Yeah,
short
I mean,
price.
there's a litany of them down the years.
Exactly.
But it can happen.
Yeah. Like we said, Chittibello won a county. No,
Yeah.
you can't be a mug if
No.
you've won a county hurdle.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's got plenty of graded form as well. He's a rock solid horse. But I think selection-wise, I'd probably be leaning towards Call Me Lord. I was quite impressed with the way he came back at Ascot.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a really short price that day on what he'd achieved. I wasn't really. I don't know what I was expecting from him.
What do you think about the trip?
I think 2 miles is exactly what I
Right,
want, but
right, yeah.
2 mile 1 or whatever it is, the international.
Takes a little bit.
But I mean, the way he travelled through that coral hurdle,
Yeah.
it really surprised me. I wasn't sure he was actually that good. He just got outstayed by If the Cat Fits, who's obviously a leading contender for the Stairs hurdle this year.
Yeah.
So I think the drop back to 2 miles is going to be a plus for him. He gets a bit of weight actually from a few of these. So I don't know. I'm expecting a good run from him, just the way he travelled through that. That would have blown away the cobwebs as well. So I'd probably be leaning towards Call Me Lord. Elixir de Nuts, like you said, though, he's quite an interesting horse. If he lines up here, he's
exactly. I mean,
really interesting.
Him and
candidate.
Pentland Hills are probably the 2 most interesting horses, because if they come out and perform well, then we've got a potential star.
Exactly,
and the 2 mile 4 hurdling division is not looking. You know, and there's been a few injuries. Bouvardere, obviously. I mean, Bouvardere's got form with Chittibello. Chittibello's got form with Bouvardere, obviously, which probably looks a bit better in hindsight. And he's missing. There's so many question marks over the top hurdlers this season that one of these could, you know, you wouldn't normally say that, but one of them could develop into a real hopeful for the big
definitely.
race.
I kind of think with Pentland Hills, if you're 7-1 for the champion hurdle, in a not great renewal of the international, you've got to be coming out and winning this well if you've got champion hurdle claims, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. What about this Big Blue, the Aussie horse? I don't know if you've had a look at that. I mean, he's got very little. We don't know what his form's like.
Well, it's hard to assess, and you know they're not coming over for a laugh, are they? So
No.
he must be showing them something, and I think there has been a little bit of money for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, on all our ratings and on all our normal ways of assessing him, you'd think, well, tailed off. But I mean, it's like the old days when Jacques Ricou used to come over from France with something that we all, while he was waving for a taxi, and end up winning the race while we were all laughing at his riding style. So we just don't know. It'd be a bit of an upset.
Oh,
but,
absolutely. I mean, it just adds a bit of interest to the race, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't really see any. Well, Australia is not famed for its jump racing these days, so.
But it's such an expensive expedition for them, unless they've got a British buyer lined up or something, and it's going to change ownership soon. That may be the case, but it certainly adds a little bit of a
nice
extra flavour to the race.
Yeah, nice little subplot. Cool. So if I can push you for a selection then?
Well, more in hope than anything else, I hope Pentland Hills wins, because we could do with a hurdling superstar at the moment.
I'm going to go for Call Me Lord. I was really taken with the way he travelled at Ascot. I think the drop back in trip is going to suit him. So Call Me Lord for Nicky Henderson. Last but not least, it's the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup at Cheltenham. A really fiercely competitive race this. Steve, where do you start here? I mean, there's chances everywhere you look.
There certainly is. I mean, there's a couple of reasonable trends for this race that might be worth just mentioning to narrow the field a bit, in that there's not been a winner older than 8, I think, since the 90s, which is quite good. There's not that many of them in it.
So scratch all the old
a couple
ones.
of the older ones. And also the race to look at, really, if the trends are anything to go by, is the Victor Gold Cup last month. And also the way Brelonda finished second in that, I thought was quite encouraging with this race in mind, because this is probably a little bit more of a stamina test on the different course. Even though I think they ran it over an extra 100 yards, that Victor, for whatever reason. And the way he was kind of battling on up the hill, again, I think that bodes quite well. Up £5, but I think the test of stamina and the fact that he likes the course, I think he'll run well. Paul Nicholls has a fantastic record in this race.
Exactly, on 5 of the last 10.
Exactly, and that's what kind of worries me, because all the money this week's been for Secret Investor.
Yeah.
Quite a big gamble, and a Grade 2 winner. first run in a handicap. So you tend to look at an opening mark of 150 and go, well, that's oof. But then you don't know there. He could be well ahead.
He's
of
a
that.
very interesting runner. I wouldn't think. I think they've got a bit of rain forecast though. I don't think he'd.
And also,
I don't to ease.
Again, without waffling on about the trends, I don't think this has been won by a horse that hasn't won or placed at Cheltenham.
Right. Okay.
Certainly in living recent memory, and he's not done that. So that's a bit of a negative. But again, Paul Nicholls knows precisely what it needs to win this race. So. Of his two, I prefer Brelon Da, but obviously the money for Secret Investor, that's not come for nothing, has it?
Well, no, you're spot on. Brelon Da, I think he's got an obvious chance, definitely. I want to touch on Riders on the Storm. I think he's heading up the market at the minute. Very impressive at Aintree last time out. He's obviously that was his first start for Twister after coming from Tom Tafts, and he was absolutely bolted up, didn't he? Travelled, jumped.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very impressive.
Effort. Gone up £13.
£13 higher,
that might not be a problem. The thing that kind of put me off him, but it was only slightly, was that he took a tumble at the festival, didn't he?
Yeah.
In the Close Brothers, I think it was.
Was that the race one by Aplu?
Yeah, and it was. But that is the other course, which whether that makes any difference. But I did have him down on my shortlist. If and also Nigel Tristan Davis, he may well improve his jumping. As well. I also liked Clondor Castle as well. Good run in the Arkle last year.
Well, I mean, if you watch the Arkle back, he was travelling as well as the winner.
Yeah, he just kind of didn't. Did he not get up the hill, or was he just outclassed?
No, well, maybe because he raced up with the pace. Maybe he just kind of ran himself into the ground. But it was very tiring ground that day as well.
Exactly. And then I thought he ran well at Ascot, and he's off the same mark, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he is. 144, I think.
Yeah, and it's all about staying. I mean, if you think about it, to run so well in the Arkle and then go into this, you know, it's a lower grade race. If he gets home, I think he was a decent price. I think he should run well.
No, I agree. It was that Diego de Charmel race that he was second last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and to leave his mark alone, I think, you know, is quite generous, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we should touch on Seepage / Cepage.
Yeah.
I prefer to call it Seepage.
Seepage, it sounds a little bit unsavoury, but we know what you're talking about.
He's £5 better off with Rider of the Storm.
Yeah.
I think they're about a length and a half between them. Aintree-ish.
Yeah.
Can you see him turning the tables?
Normally I would say no, to be honest, and he's going up the weights himself, of course, and he was second in this last year, wasn't he? And that was his first run since then. So there's two ways of looking at that. You could say, well, that means there's a few miles on the clock and there's a lot of improvement to come, or you could say, well, maybe he'll need this as well. I don't know. That weight rise is the thing that puts me off, but he could well improve past it. Wouldn't be a shock.
No, I see where you're coming from. The weight rise is slightly off-putting for Riders on the Storm and Seepage, but you've got to remember they were miles clear of Old Grangewood, and he went and won at Newbury the other day.
Exactly,
so
and they've both
worked out.
They've both got angles for improving as well. Riders on the Storm moving over from Ireland, that's his angle, and Cepage coming back from a long break. Again, that's his kind of angle into improving. So again, they could be ahead of the handicap despite that.
One I want to mention is Warthog. I think he ran really well in that Bet Victor. He was third in it, beating about 8 lengths, but he got tired between the last two fences. There's his first run for a while. He'd had a wind up, and I was really impressed with the way he travelled and jumped. Much more encouraging effort from him. So I can see him going well. His mark's been left alone. He's a big price each way. Were there any in there?
Well, not that Fuse. It was an each way one. At a price I thought still the very early days over fences. Was second here at the October meeting, and has no weight. So you know if he could pick up the pieces of. If you've got a bookie playing extra places or run into fourth, could easily happen. Yeah,
absolutely. Guitar Pete won this 2 years ago. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Guitar Pete. I think Nicky Richards said he just bounced in the Bet Victor. It was only 2 weeks after he won Weatherby first time out, so he's given him a month off, and I think this course suits him better. The new course suits him better.
And weights wise from that time.
Weight wise, I think he's running off 141. He won this off 134 2 years ago, so he's £7 higher. But, I mean, with the top two in there, he's getting in off like 10, something like that, 10, 12. Have a nice racing weight. So I'm expecting him to go quite well for the shrewd Nicky Richards. Any more to touch on Layla? I mean, what the hell has happened to Layla?
No, well, I mean, this, again, it's going to be one of those that if pops up and wins this, everyone will be like, oh, yeah, okay. Course, but it's like nobody will have backed it.
Yeah, I know.
That can happen, especially at Cheltenham. Would be a surprise because I've got 8 on my shortlist and he didn't make it into that. So, but that doesn't mean anything.
I just don't know what's happened to him. He looked to have the world at his feet, didn't he, when he won that novice chase?
I mean,
November meeting last
I
year.
suppose it can happen, but I mean, they can come back. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's countless examples of it. But I don't think you'd want to trust your hard end until you'd
Not at all,
seen
especially
just some glimmers of hope maybe for future.
That run at Exeter as well, which never travelled there.
Yeah, I mean, again,
really,
it is a hard race to find your form in, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point to prove at the minute,
Yeah.
and we've got a few in here like that. Benatar is another. He had a poor season last year.
I wouldn't be fancying that one, to be honest.
No.
I couldn't.
Got to mention keeper
case.
Hill as well. I think he's
Yeah.
ended up. He beat that Midnight Shadow at Haydock last time. He'd have a decent enough chance.
Yeah, I mean, Haydock form, there's often a lot of crabbing about Haydock form, but I think it's Jumps form, especially now that they've made them the hardest fences in the Western world. I think that's a good test of jumping these days, and
big time.
I think form from there could hold up well this year.
Cool. Right, should we start to summarise then? What are you leaning towards?
Braylon if he turns up, I think I like him, and I like Clondor Castle. They're my two.
Lovely. Well, I quite like Clondor Castle as well, but at bigger prices, I'm going to put up Warthog each way off the same mark as when he was third in the Bet Victor, and Guitar Pete as well, previous winner of this race, but given a little break since the Bet Victor when things didn't work out, and I think this course is going to suit him much better. So they'll be my two each way against the field. So lovely jubbly. Right, time for our Lucky 15 picks now. Steve, we'll start with you. What are your two picks for our Lucky 15 this week?
Yeah, I'm going for the Grade 2 Novice Chase at Doncaster, Windsor Avenue.
Right,
Very keen on that one. And then I think Braylon Dar in the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup should go close.
Nice one. I'm going to go for My Old Gold for Nicky Richards in the Bet365 handicap at Donny. And in the international, I'm going to go for Call Me Lord for Nicky Henderson. So thank you very much for joining me this week, Steve.
Pleasure.
Best of luck with your bets this weekend, everyone. Have a good one.